are going to talk a lot about plastics. We are talking a lot about plastics. If I look into the last 20 years, we have never been talking so much about plastic that we will be doing for the next couple of years. The debate should help to reassess the environment and the health risk of plastics when they become waste. So we have to think into the design of the product, the design of the material. We have to look into the complexity of all plastics markets. I personally believe that after focusing a lot on plastics waste collection and transport, time has come now to stimulate, really, the reuse of quality recyclate by plastics converters in Europe. So the need to introduce that pull concept for plastics converters exists. Volumes of reused material can be linked to the CO2 gain. It's a question of finding the data, linking them and putting them together, and have also the authorities accepting the new principles. The converters will be the key for success of the development of the pull concept. Limited selected converters can help to develop generally used Z+ protocol for all converters. And I had already enough talks with company leaders that are really interested in using recycled material to advance the next step into this process. External and independent certification will help the converters and the OEMs to market their company towards their sustainability strategy and objectives.
Where does Europe go wrong? Why do we need green papers? Why do we need to talk about circular economies? I think if you look at this picture, and I have to tell you, this is a real existing roundabout in the UK. This is where we do the discussions. Everybody talks in his own circle and nobody communicates with other industries. I think what we can learn from the debate in the marine litter is it brought us in contact with industries we never discussed before. So it's a very enriching discussion. And most of all, of course, and as first partners, we came into contact with the fishing industry. An industry which consumes a lot of plastic, and I think nobody of us was realizing that. So we are preparing actions together with the fishing industry to proactively collect obsolete gear in the ports. But we have done more. I think in the last 2 years, we have been in several hundreds of meetings. I think only with Leo we met 4 times in the last 2 weeks, somewhere in Europe, on this issue, at least. Huh? At least. And especially at breakfast in The Hague at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday, it's always very challenging. One of those discussions was with UNEP, the United Nations Environmental Programme. They are running a program on the global marine litter debate, and we are actively discussing with them to participate there and to take a leading role together with NOAA in recovery operations on a global scale. In conclusion, Waste Free Oceans and their active partners are so far the only organization that started to combine passive fishing for litter, active fishing for litter, ghost net retrieval and proactive collection, river litter monitoring and retrieval, beach cleaning, closing the loops by finding outlets for recyclate, education and awareness campaigns, and a continuous dialogue on national, international and global scale with authorities and other stakeholders. And last night I heard from many of you that you thought it was a very good initiative. But we need your support to continue that good initiative. And as we already discussed in Wiesbaden, during the MPA meetings, there is an urgent need for a more structural financing system for the plastic industries to support solutions and cleanup actions. And we should use a system that can easily be copied to other parts of the region, based on volumes. This will also allow to create national or regional budgets. And the international oil business, a similar system called FIPOL is already in place and is fully accepted. And FIPOL deals with the consequences of oil spillage and cleaning operations.
And been already doing the Fishing for Litter program since 2008 and managing the waste management for the fisheries in Ostend. We were happily, and our fishermen contributed quite happily with the launch in Belgium of the Waste Free Ocean. What we really have to do is to get your industry together with the fishermen to develop that concept of marine litter fishing, if it is with Fishing for Litter or Waste Free Ocean. And it's not a huge amount to compensate for the fishermen. I think if we go on a worldwide level to €1 if you pay €1 per metric ton you guys are selling, well, we solve our long-term planning, or long-term problem. Especially for an industry like yours who is doing $1 trillion per year.
Landfills are contributing to the marine litter problem. This is a picture from the Zaida, famous Zaida landfill in Lebanon, and you see that this landfill is really very close, nearly in the sea itself. Yeah. What we've done, we have addressed this issue of the landfill directive to President Barroso, since we know that at the top level of the Commission there is some reluctance to introduce legislation that is seen as a burden to industry in these crisis times. So what we said was we welcome the approach of the European Commission to focus on the implementation of existing legislation, because we think it's key, in particular in the waste legislation. But we also wanted to highlight that there's a need for improvement in the landfill directive, and that we want to have a ban or a phase out of the landfilling of recyclable or highly combustible waste in there by 2014. We need to ensure that access to energy from waste is there and is not burdened. Because we know recycling, as Alexander said, recycling is the preferred option. Only those plastic waste that is not sustainable for recycling should go to energy recovery. Yeah.
And I will start with the policy side, and especially the policy side which looks at the sources. Resource efficiency is already mentioned, and waste prevention. In fact, the statement indeed is that marine litter is a resource at the wrong place. That's what the commissioner said in Berlin. So it's not a waste, it's a resource. And we have to do something about it. So resource efficiency is an important part of the way to address marine litter. In fact, you could say that the Green Paper has two pillars. One is from the resource efficiency side, and the other one from the marine litter side. Not maybe because marine litter now already gives enormous impacts on the ecosystem, but it is growing. We can't stop it still, and there's an urgency coming up more and more. And people became aware we have to do something about it. And that's why we have this Green Paper on plastic in the environment. The awareness is growing with policymakers. That's why we try to do that, and to raise the awareness at conferences. It's raising at the EU level, the member states level, industries. You're sitting here, you're already converted almost. You could say that you're aware of marine litter and of the issues. We started already some preparatory meetings with the sector, roundtable discussions since 2011. As I said, we organized a conference. I organized it together with Germany, federal government, in April, where all these aspects came together. And the results of this conference was used to develop this action plan. We have drafted an issue paper, which is also online. It's a paper of about 100 pages, which shows you what are the sources, what do we know, what are the impacts, what kind of actions you can take. So if you want to be inspired, please go ahead.
It's been 2.5 days, full of information, full of excellent participation by yourselves, the people on the panels. I think it made a very good contribution to share the status of our industry in 2013. Taking a good look at all the issues we have to deal with, from supplies to innovation to the problems we have in the environment. So all stakeholders were really involved, and I think the conclusion is that we will be able to meet a couple of times again over the coming 20 years to talk about these issues. We're not going to lose work. So there's enough work to be done. And one thing that popped up to my mind is, as we are a plastic converting association and a plastic manufacturing association, we sort of suffer sometimes from the big success. We are victims of our own success. You have to be very clear about it. The more product we are able to produce, the more excellent products we are putting in the market, the more we'll be under scrutiny from people outside. Not everybody is happy about it. Don't forget, we have competing materials as well. It's not only the environmentalists and the Greens and I don't know what, we have other materials, and we're competitors. So the success that we have and that I'm sure that we like to have, comes with all the other stuff that we've been talking about. So we have to deal with that stuff as well, and that is part of the game. And you've been participating in that game today and yesterday, and I'm sure it will continue. And I hope we will be on the winner's side, and especially not only for ourselves, but as well for the economy, for the population, for the consumer. And I think that is very important that we bear that in mind, that we are not self-sufficient, that what we're doing is important for the life of the people as well. One closing remark maybe, I heard this morning the number from Germany for another issue, which was not on the agenda today, food waste, tremendous issue. The number for 2012 in Germany is 11 million tons of food being incinerated, deposited or whatever, composted in Germany. 11 million tons, out of which 10 million tons came out of households. We know that the number for Europe 27 is roughly, very roughly, 100 million tons. And that happens in the light of future 9 billion people on the planet, which we will have to feed at a good level. And I'm glad to tell you that the study of FAO, the United Nations Food Organization, clearly says if we are able to install the right systems for storage, logistic, packaging, transport, marketing, it is enough food available to feed 9 billion people. It's already there. We do not need extra surface. So plastic, packaging, and for other areas can play a very important role to solve that problem for the future. And with that outlook, I'd like to say thank you to everybody. And, well, those who stay on in Bruges, have a lovely evening. And those who travel home, get home safe. And we see you all again, I hope, in the coming year. One thing that I should not forget, those who are involved in UPC are certainly keen to know where the next meeting is taking place. We had a very close vote between Brussels in 2014 and Warsaw. Brussels did win by a narrow margin, but we said if we find the right sponsors for Warsaw, we may change our minds. So in principle, it's Brussels, but let's see if we find the right sponsors. So that is June 6, 2014. Until then, I wish you all good health and luck. Bye-bye. Thank you.